All right, we are in Esther chapter 3. Now, in Esther chapter 2, we left it last week when we were talking about how Esther became the queen. And when Esther became the queen, it was recorded that she also found favor in the eyes of the people around her, and particularly the king. So in chapter 3 was a very interesting chapter because chapter 3 sets up the purpose of this book called Esther. In chapter 3, we are introduced to another individual, and this is the individual that King Ahasuerus promoted by a name of Haman. Haman is a local, a Persian likely. We don't know the meaning of the name because this is a foreign name, the son of Hammedatha. But more interestingly, he is an Agagite. Now, this is what I want to point out to you is that in this particular chapter, this is identified an Agagite. Agag is known as the king in 1 Samuel chapter 15. Let me just write this down. King Agag is in 1 Samuel chapter 15. And this is a very famous chapter with regards to Saul, where Saul was told to kill King Agag. But Saul didn't kill King Agag. In fact, he left King Agag alone, and he kept some of the best animals that he thought he was going to sacrifice to God. And when Samuel came to see him, Samuel heard the animals' noises, and Samuel asked, what was that? And then only he said that he saved this for a sacrifice. And the most famous words were said to King Saul that Samuel said to Saul was that it is better to obey than to sacrifice. And so that whole episode then discovered that King Agag was not killed. And Samuel took the sword and killed King Agag. And here we find this word Agagite, which means that Haman is a descendant of King Agag. And is a pagan and a foreigner, right? And it comes to a full circle in this particular story of Esther that while King Agag was killed by Samuel, was supposed to be killed by Saul, but Saul didn't. Now, many years down the road, a descendant of King Agag called Haman came to do the honors of killing the descendants of the people of Israel. But it was not in his original plan. So it says that when King Ahasuerus promoted Haman became very important at this point in time because it was after these things. After the queen, Esther became queen and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. Number 2, all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman. Now you need to know that this word here, bow, is at the knees. And it's that far down. You bend down at the knees and bow to him. Pay homage is really bow to the ground. That's our usual word we translate as worship. For the king had commanded concerning him. So the king actually gave this command that everybody should do this. But Mordecai would not bow or pay homage. Means what? It is not about worshiping a man, but Mordecai really did not consider Haman worthy. And this was an insult. By not bowing down at the knee, no, or worshipping or bowing down to the ground, face to the ground, it means that Mordecai do not treat Haman like how everybody else treated Haman. Then the king's servants who were within the king's gate said to Mordecai, "Why do you transgress the king's command?" Now this word transgress means to pass or pass over. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with this. It means that, let me put this down, pass over. So we have the king's command, and Mordecai passed over. Means disregarded the king's command. And in this case, I don't think you can call it violation. I think it's more of ignoring it, right? The king's command. And so what is important is where we go from here. And now it happened when they spoke to him daily and he would not listen to them, because Mordecai just kept ignoring this particular command of the king. And they told it to Haman to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. Mordecai had told them that he was a Jew. And the word Jew is Yahudi. And that's where the Arabic word for Jew comes from. That he was a Yahudi. And Haman saw Mordecai did not bow or pay him homage, meaning, remember, bend at the knee to bow, or face to the ground. Now remember, in the past, when you have face to the ground, it's usually translated as worship, but it literally means that the one that you pay homage to or you bow down to is the one who is greater and you are the lesser. This means that Mordecai ignored Haman, and did not consider him important. And what is the result? Haman was filled with wrath. Now, of course, Haman would feel that he's indignified. He's supposed to be the big guy, and this chap here is not doing it. But he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, meaning he is politically shrewd. He doesn't want to dirty his own hands, but he wants to teach Mordecai a lesson. For they had told him of the people of Mordecai. What is the people of Mordecai? They are the Jews. Now remember, this is the first time it has been exposed that he's a Jew. And by Jew, it means that these were the people who were captured by King Nebuchadnezzar in the days of Daniel, in Daniel chapter 1. And that these were the people who were brought over from Judea to Babylon. And these were the ones who were still there. And so these were the people of Mordecai, the Jews. So the people of Judea are called Jews. And we know that they are of the southern kingdom that makes up of primarily Judah, the tribe of Judah, and Benjamin. And by that, there were also Levites around there because of Jerusalem. We also know of some of the tribes in the north that came down to the south, but the citizens of Judah are called Jews. And so instead of Haman doing it himself, he was trying to find ways to destroy all the people of Mordecai. This is the key of the story in the book of Esther. Just watch this. This is to destroy all the Jews throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. This would be the entire Medo-Persian kingdom, the biggest kingdom, ranging from Kush in northern Africa all the way to western India. Every Jew in this empire is to be destroyed. And so verse 6 tells us that he seeks to destroy, and to destroy really is, I think you could use the word exterminate. Now today we use the word exterminate when you talk about pests in the house, right? we've got termites. So you find a pest exterminator. And the intent of extermination means you want to kill every one of the pests. Now Haman is using this word that he wants to kill every Jew within the kingdom. And that is the crux, the core of this book. Moving forward, and this is the background now. There's a little bit of a history in the first month, which is the month of Nisan. How do you know the first month is the month of Nisan? Well, we have to go back to Exodus chapter 12. And once you go back to Exodus chapter 12, the first month of Nisan is called Nisan, and it's called the first month because that was the month that God took the Israelites out of Egypt. And so that would be the first month of the year. In the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Pur. Pur means lot. So in verse 7, you'd find that the word is poor. In the Hebrew is poor. Before Haman, to determine the day and the month until it fell on the 12th month of the year. The word poor or poor is very important. Poor is lot. And it is this month of the first month of the year, they start to cast lots to determine different things right across the year of 12 months. Now in verse 8 begins when the king said to King Ahasuerus, you know, there are certain people scattered, dispersed among the people in all the provinces of your kingdom. And this will tell us a little bit, right? Scattered and dispersed tells us this. The Jews are not all in one place. The Jews are all over the place. Meaning some places you have more Jews, some places you have no Jews. But they are scattered from Kush to Western India. It is very interesting because if you are appreciative of this particular fact, that the Jews are dispersed across the Medo-Persian Empire, you would soon learn that very few of the Jews actually return to Jerusalem later after this. At the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, they were supposed to go back, but very few Jews went back. And many of them are already dispersed, and they may have found their roots in this kingdom when they were allowed to live and do business and to make a living. And so they have found their roots. Now remember, they were also out of Judea for 70 years, which means that they were also having new generation that were born in the Medo-Persian Empire outside of Judea. And hence, they were dispersed and scattered. So just bear that in mind. So it is not only in Shushan, but it's all over the place. Now this is another thing that Haman said, their laws are different from all other peoples. Remember, Exodus chapter 20. That is the Torah. And so we find that in Exodus, in Genesis, Exodus, in Leviticus in particular, in Numbers and Deuteronomy, these are their Torah, these are their direction. They call it laws, right? In verse 8, and it is, how should we say, in the eyes of the Medo-Persian people like Haman, they see the practices of the Jews as laws. By laws, it means that they were instructions or practices that differentiate them from other people, right? That's what it means. These are different orders, different way of living. That I think would be easier to talk about, right? Different practices. And so they said that they do not keep, right here, they do not keep the king's laws, the orders of the king. Now, what in particular order of the king's laws was Haman so upset? Well, as we have read up there, the law or the order of the king to bow down and pay homage. So bow at the knee and face to the ground to Haman, and Mordecai says no. And so when they were accusing Mordecai of being a Jew, he was plotting to kill them. And so therefore, Haman says, it is not fitting to let them remain. It is not healthy. And this is where it builds up. In the eyes of Haman, Mordecai represents all the people. I think we could also recognize that Mordecai is a leader. And so when you take the leader down, he was interested to take everybody down. And he went to the king. If it pleases the king, let another decree be written. And notice in Medo-Persia, everything has been written. That they be destroyed, exterminated. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver into the hands of those who do the work. Money to solve Haman's problems. Okay, that is what Haman is doing. And basically, if that's the case, we could put it into the king's treasury, which means that 10,000 talents of silver is a lot of money. When the king heard that, verse 10, the king took his signet ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. Now suddenly we find Haman as the enemy of the Jews. Enemy means he is the hostile person, the one who is going to fight against the Jews, right? These are the ones who's going to persecute. And so even in Medo-Persia, not Babylon, it's in the same districts as Babylon, but the Medo-Persian Empire took over Babylon. And now Haman is going to be the one, a descendant of Agag, to persecute the Jews, and in this case, to kill the Jews. And the king says what? Do as it seems good to you. Now with the signet ring, it means that the king's authority as a seal, well, in the old days, it's not a signature. So the king's symbolic signature would be the signet ring. So the king's scribes were called on the 13th day of the first month. The 13th day of the first month is right in the middle of the Passover ritual. The Passover is in the first month. On the 10th day, you pick a lamb. On the 14th day, you kill the lamb. And that would be the ritual. And this would be the day before they kill the lamb. And so there was a decree written according to all that Haman had commanded to the king's officials, the governors, the Mantri Basa, who were all over the province. And remember, there were 120 provinces. To the officials of all the people, to every province according to the script, and to every people in their language. Remember, we did this before. There were many languages in Medo-Persia. In chapter 1, we read how this was done to make sure that all women will listen to their husbands. Now Haman is saying that this particular instruction written on the 13th day of the first month of Nisan is to be sent out. But what is it sent out? To make it official, sealed with the king's signet ring. Sent by couriers to everyone. Why? Because it is talking about something very important that they cannot miss: to destroy, to kill, and to annihilate the Jews, both young and old, children, women, in one day. on the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and then to take over everything they have. So remember, this is the 12th month. And this is the first month. So in the next 11 months, I would say 11 months, right? That's going to take place. That is what is being prepared. And Haman is telling people, in 11 months from now, you need, in one day, you need to do all these things in verse 13. The verse 13 will say that they are to exterminate. That would be to destroy. Exterminate means kill everyone. To kill, in this sense, will be to, well, to slay, to smite, to strike at them, and to, well, I guess this word would be to make them disappear. Make disappear. That's to annihilate. So exterminate, strike, and make disappear all the Jews. All the Jews. And that's what all the Jews mean. Right? Everyone, young and old, women and children, on one day, the 13th day, which is the same day as this particular decree is written. Now, remember this, because this is the most crucial. There is now 11 months to go. A copy of this document was to be issued as law. Verse 14. What do you mean by law? It is what we call a decree, a royal decree, a royal edict, a royal order by the king, but it's written by Haman. And this is published to be issued in every province, published for all people, that they should be ready for that day. They are given 11 months to get ready. So the couriers went out, hastened by the king's command. The decree was proclaimed in Shushan, the palace. So the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city of Shushan was perplexed. The last word here, perplexed, is confused. Confused. Why are they in confusion? This is a very interesting word. It means that they don't know what to do. Okay, that's what happens here. The whole city, when he says the city, these are the people in the city, was very confused. I think when you look at it, it would be, why so sudden? Right? Why the Jews? All of these will be very valid questions. So they were wondering, what happened so sudden? All these things. And so this sets up the background reason for the book of Esther to be written. In the first 2 chapters, we see the build-up. In the 3rd chapter, we see the actual reason. Okay?